especially with rebranding to the DeFi X stuff. That's kind of like what we're wanting to do. And that's something I've also talked about with the marketing team too, is kind of this different branding direction that we're going in. Because I mean, right now we're at like what, $42, $43. I mean, the markets are shitting themselves right now across the board. So I'm really pleased with where we're sitting at right now. But yeah, and then in terms of one little thing, and then I'll just start going into questions if you guys have them. Because like I said, I just wanted to kind of do an informal like AMA, so you guys know that like, hey, we're still here, we're still doing shit. So the version 2 is obviously our main focus right now. But as I've said in a couple of tweets, and I've said it in here, my main focus is really like our kind of, I guess you would say, grand plan. And I really can't go into it too much because I don't want to. We're not ready to disclose like what we're doing. As I've said, I haven't seen any other project in crypto that's doing it. It was mainly Peaceful's idea. I tweaked some things about it. We're really fortunate that a lot of the guys in the team are super connected. Like I said, the only hint I was able to give really is that before we can announce like what we're doing, we have a lot of legal and legwork we have to do. There's going to be a lot of traveling that members from the team, myself included, are going to need to do. It's a massively ambitious plan. Solid, who just actually posted in the general chat, is going to be like super instrumental in helping us get some of this stuff done. But I'm excited, man. There really is, like I've said, I've not seen anything, any project, central exchange, VC fund, other protocols. I've not seen anybody try and do what we're going to try and do. And I think we have a good chance at doing it. Because like I said, we have some really, really well-connected guys. And the funny thing is that it was Peaceful's idea, but Solid and I had actually talked, and it had been something he'd been thinking about. But he was a one-man crew, so it was a lot more difficult. This type of thing, like I said, it's going to take a lot of legal work, and it's going to take a lot of legwork on our part. I don't know about doxing. I'll KYC with anybody. If I have to KYC with an organization, I'm okay with it. But just for me personally, I don't know how comfortable I am anymore in like publicly doxing myself, just because there's a lot of weirdos in this space, man, and I just don't really want to deal with that type of drama in real life. But yeah, so that thing, our whole grand plan, you probably don't expect to really hear anything until after V2 launches. Yeah, that's pretty much as I want to give away about that right now. Because really, until we have like some concrete stuff, and there's no point in me announcing it right now, because if we announced it right now, everybody would say it's too ambitious. You guys haven't done any work on it yet. You guys don't really know. That's true. It's too ambitious of a plan for us to just talk about. Like, there's actual things that we need to have done and set in stone for us to announce it, and then you guys, the crypto world, take us seriously at that point. Because if we just say, hey, this is what we're going to do, most people are just going to be like, okay, cool, good luck. Like, okay, yeah, we'll see, bro. So we need to have like a lot of stuff done beforehand before we can come out and say, this is like our master plan, basically. This is our grand plan. This is what will take us to 10 billion market cap. And I really am confident, because I'm telling you guys have told me, don't overhype it. There's really nothing I could say that will truly describe like how, I mean, I can't hype it up enough, basically. It's too fucking bullish for me to really like overhype it. It's too bullish. All right, so let me go ahead and just do some questions here. Nevson, I'll allow you to speak with, and then Pat the Cat, you can talk to if you guys have questions. I just invited both y'all to. What can we expect in terms of our returns comparing today's rebases to what's, and then Bagla? Man, I'm not even going to try and say your name, but it's the guy with the Darth Vader picture, so I just invite you up to speak. Nepson, what's up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to refer my question to the marketing side. I don't know how much you can disclose, but so last AMA you said that we would be marketing a narrative. Can you like go over that a little bit? What that narrative would be?
Yeah, so that's actually something I'm going to be talking about too here with Brad. And Brad's the contact guy we have with Profit Commerce. Let me see. Let me grab his name real quick. Brad. Man, I hate pronouncing last names. Holland, Holland, Holland. I don't know, man. But yeah, so that's actually something I'm going to be talking about here with Brad a little bit later today, because some of this stuff has changed from our last AMA. So we've had to change up some of the narrative that we're going to be going with. The main narrative that we're going to be pushing now is the DeFi X stuff. It was either DeFi 4.0 or DeFi X. Kind of the gist of it was that we're doing something that nobody else is doing, and we're going to make it sustainable. So now that we have like a label we can give it, that's really what we're going to be pushing, is this whole concept of DeFi X, that we're mixing a mix of like time tokenomics with a safe moon tax. Then we also have MCC components to it too. But instead of reflections going to holders, the profits on those investments will go directly back into Crown, and either burning the tokens to lower emissions or increasing the LP, which just makes whales and people happy. So yeah, the DeFi X, that's really going to be what we're pushing here, because we don't want to. We want to be able to like separate ourselves from just the standard Olympus DAO stuff and time stuff. And I mean, you've even seen. I mean, if you follow Danny on Twitter, I mean, they're doing different things too now with time. The old, just straight Olympus DAO tokenomics, I don't think work. I think that's what you're seeing with Olympus DAO just like floundering right now. It's like, okay, it was the first one. First movers advantage usually wins, and I think that's what we have here with our version 2, is that we're going to have a first mover advantage in this. I think we're going to be the largest type of rebasing DAO with the tax. But you're looking that first isn't always best. I mean, at this point, Olympus DAO, there's really nothing special about Olympus DAO other than it was the first one to do it. At this point, it's really about who can take that model and who can take other models, make it into one thing that actually works. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing here with Crown. I don't know if that like answered your question.
Yeah, that was a perfect explanation. Thank you.
Awesome. And Jay Mini, what's up, dude? Your mic is muted, so I don't know if you had a question you wanted to ask. I just invited you up here.
There we go. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So my first question is, like, with everything we're doing, how is all that really going to come back to the holders of Crown? Like, how are we going to see the profits? And second question is, what do you see like our price floor reaching?
I mean, anytime we start talking about price, it gets a little. So I'll kind of adjust the questions in kind of different pieces. I think first of all, to start, what's the benefit for the holders? The biggest benefit for the holders on this is really going to be that instead of just doing the reflections, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air on tokens that have reflections on it. Sometimes it's nice, but really for me, I almost never care about reflections. I think the better method to do with most of these MCC type tokens is, instead of just doing reflections to the people, why wouldn't you want to boost the token itself? Like, okay, let's say we make like a couple, 300, 400, $500,000 in profit. The larger our treasury gets, the bigger we'll be able to do investments. So let's say we make $3-4 million in profit off something. Why wouldn't you want to just put that directly back into Crown, like the token itself? That would really boost up the price and would also allow us to either add that to LP or burn it. And I think as a result of that, because if we can do more and more burns, that allows us to also tinker with the APY a lot more. Now that is, I can't give because that's really going to be up to the dev team. Honestly, what does sustainable look like? Right now, 6 million APY. I'm really comfortable with personally. I think it's in a really good spot APY wise. But that's really going to be kind of up to the team to decide. Okay, what's sustainable with this constant flow of money coming in from the Treasury investments. What does sustainable really look like? And that allows us to kind of tinker with the APY some, and I think that'll always give us a competitive advantage over these other time tokens. So I think that's probably the biggest way to just kind of sum up your question: how will it benefit the holders? Because essentially, the Midas touch that we were doing when we had done a couple buybacks and burns, essentially the profits from the MCC component of Crown, or I'm not even going to say MCC component, the just farming as a service component of Crown is going to help with the buybacks and burns, and people loved those. So I think that would be kind of best, and it also gives us the opportunity to not have to rely on our own internal token volume because our treasury is working for us, even if Crown doesn't have like a ton of volume or something. And then in terms of a price floor, man, I've said I felt comfortable with 100 before 100 before version 2 launches. It depends really. Unfortunately, the market is not in the greatest place. But I mean, and some of it too is I kind of know when we're going to launch too at this point. Because I'm in the team talks. Man, I don't really want to give a price floor, honestly. That's just because I know when we're going to launch and I don't know. Yeah, so in terms of price, I'm just going to stay away with the price point. I will say my original thing is I had liked 100 before version 2. But yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Bird 2, I'll allow you to speak. And then Jolly Dangerous, I'll allow you to speak too.
At one point in time, we mentioned that moving on to the migration to V2, the quantity tokens would change. Like, for example, 1 to 10 or 1 to 100. Is that still on?
Oh, no. So our token, we've decided that we're going to stick with the 1-to-1 token swap. We think it makes the most sense for the tokenomics. So we're going to be sticking with the 1-to-1 token swap instead of doing, because yeah, you're right. We had talked about doing 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. But no, we're going to be sticking with just 1-to-1.
Right. Thank you for that. And so are you expecting that the launch on V2 would be around the same price for the token as you end up on V1 before, obviously, you perform the migration?
That is honestly probably, I believe so. I think that's what Jin had said in one of his most recent announcements, was that the price is going to be whatever the price ends at version 1 will be the price that V2 starts at. I had originally thought the price would be a little bit higher, but I don't believe that's the case.
If you're utilizing the same funds and shifting them from one platform to the other, so I believe it's only acceptable that you'll have the same value as you end up on the last day on V1, right?
Yeah, I believe that's going to be the case, yeah.
Great. Thank you. That's all from my end.
Awesome. Sue, I allowed, if you got a question, man?
Yo, what's up? I was just wondering if we're still looking into implementing throne nodes at any point down the road.
So, man, nodes. I'm gonna be honest. Nodes really is not that high on our really high on our priority list right now. I think we'd be more in favor, team wise at least, of doing some type of staking where instead of it, like there are different staking options, kind of
Like
similar to
periods of
Node.
time.
Yeah, exactly. So we would have like different staking options that maybe you are staked for 1 week and you get like a set amount of APY. I think we're more in favorable of that than just doing nodes. And mainly because there's, man, a lot of the node protocols, because after that AMA, after that, the first AMA we did, I had looked into getting into a couple nodes, and it just doesn't seem like they can sustain is the issue. And I feel like if we implement nodes, and the team kind of feels the same, if we implement nodes into version 2, we need to do it in a way to where it wouldn't burn us out. We need to figure out a way to make it sustainable. So right now, it's not that high on our priority list. And like I said, as the team at this point, I think we'd prefer to just do some kind of different staking options instead of going the nodes route.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Gain Taurus and Anna Latour. Gain Taurus, what you got, man?
Bro, thanks for doing this today. Question for you. I'm trying to understand the reason behind the buy tax. I completely conceptually get the sell tax purpose. Can you help me understand the reason for buy tax in V2?
Yeah, so I mean, we wanted to do the buy tax because essentially, when you can think of the tax, so it's 6% in, 6% out. It's really a cumulative of like 12%. Either way, a portion of because we're kind of implementing like a safe moon tokenomic of the tax, having a portion of it on buys and sells going into liquidity is just going to be nice. It makes the most sense for people to be buying and then staking and then selling at a later date. But we want to be able to get people coming in and then going out as well. Because essentially, if we just did a sell tax, it just didn't make much sense to us as a team to do that. Because if it's a 12%, that's a pretty, especially if you think of it just from the perspective of somebody that's buying purely just to flip it, the type of person that is buying the token is going to hold it for 15, 20 minutes and then sell it. Those are the people we kind of want to be able to penalize. Ideally, when somebody's getting into Crown, we want them to buy the Crown, stake it for a long period of time, and then start taking profits from the staking, or sell it, or sell the full amount whenever they want to. But we don't want is what we had on version 1, where when we started dipping, we had massive price swings because whales were throwing 200, 300,000 in and then selling for 500,000 later. So we just didn't, essentially the 6% on the buys and the 6% on the sell really prevent any type of meaningful swing trading going on. We love whales. We just want the whales to play nicely with us, essentially. If you want to whale into Crown, we prefer that you stake it and be with us longer term than just trying to do a quick flip, essentially. Or, yeah.
I get the thought process. It just seems like you'd want more people to get in versus getting out, right? So it would seem like the sell would be the area where you'd want to tax, or maybe tax higher versus the buy.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty comfortable with doing the buy and the sell tax. I mean, we talked about just doing the hefty sell tax instead of doing anything on the buy. But we're pretty comfortable doing the buy and the sell tax because, like I said, we prefer to get people coming into, and there are going to be, I think, a lot of people that buy in and then just stake it and probably don't touch it for days to weeks at a time. So it would be nice to get those type of people that are going into staking too, that we can get them on the way in and then eventually on the way out as well. And I think, wait, what is this? Golden Boy just sent me a DM. Sorry. Honestly, man, Golden Boy, you should just come in the AMA too, dude. I'll get to that in a second. But did that kind of answer your question?
It did. Appreciate it, bro. I'm glad
Awesome. Thank you, man.
garage got fixed. Cheers.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Anna Latour, I don't know how to say your name, man. Do you have a question too?
Yeah, well, hello, Pen. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I would like to ask a question about thrones, but it has been already answered. So my next question is about the APY. Will it be dynamic like this one? How is it going to be exactly? I didn't get it yet.
Yeah, so the APY is going to, and the APY will be flexible, just like you're seeing right now. The team can adjust it. So we're still going to be able to adjust it. And like I said, with version 2, with the, I think kind of, when you're looking at how our treasury is going to work in version 2, it's essentially going to be ideally always earning money for us. And being able to always earn money for us allows us to constantly do buybacks and burns. In Midas Touch, we were doing, the whole plan with Midas Touch was going to be like a once a week type thing. With the profits from our treasury, we'd be able to do it way more frequently. So because we'd be able to do consistent buybacks and burns or buybacks and add to LP, it allows us the ability, and of course growing our treasury along the way too, it allows us at least to tinker with the APY some. So I can't like give a firm answer on what our APY will be. I can just say that we're happy with where it is right now. And on version 2, we'll tinker with it and have it make sense for the project itself. And like right now, if you're looking at Midas, we've had negative bond discounts for really probably the last couple of weeks. And I mean, that was very intentional on our part too. We didn't want people to, another way that whales were kind of circumventing the system is they would, whenever the discounts, especially when we were like peak FOMO, when we had 100% discounts on the bonding, like that was way too much. We just had whales going crazy into it and then just nuking the price as a result. Because essentially, as long as the price was staying in that, $300, $400 range, you were getting tokens at like $150 to $200 price. I mean, it was almost a guaranteed easy win at that point. So essentially with version 2, yeah, the APY is going to be dynamic to what it is right now. It's going to be something that the team's constantly monitoring. And then we'll also be factoring in bonding with that too, because obviously we're not going to keep negative bonding discounts the entire time. Like we need to be able to incentivize people to bond because it helps grow their treasury too. So yeah, short answer is I can't give a definitive, I can't tell you definitively what we're going to keep the APY at. I can just say that it's going to be dynamic and it'll be whatever the team thinks is sustainable.
Okay, bro, thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, let me see. I got a couple other questions here. DBJ, Uncle
may I ask
Rainer.
another question? Ben,
Yeah,
please?
go for it.
Regarding the minting, as you said, you were planning discounts on the minting, but whales were basically making too much use of that and making havoc on the protocol. What about making a capping on how much one can mint? I know that would be difficult with multiple accounts, but that would place a bit of security to avoid these crashes, right?
I believe there is a maximum amount you can buy on minting. I just think it's a really high maximum amount. And that really isn't something we've talked too much about. I think with version 2, we're not going to be doing nearly the crazy stuff that we were doing in version 1 where we had 100%. I mean, I think at one point it got up to 110%. We wouldn't be doing kind of stuff like that for version 2. We're going to be doing at least like reasonable, we're going to be doing reasonable discounts, I can say. But yeah, as Nebson pointed out, there is like a max amount you can buy. It's just pretty high right now. And I can talk to the team, but I don't think having like a max, like a lower max limit really makes sense. I think as long as the discount rates aren't like crazy degen, that it would be okay. I think when you're looking at like discount rates of like 10 to like 20%, even 20% to me is pretty high. I think when you're looking at stuff like that, I'm more okay with that instead of doing what we were doing. So I'm not too worried about like the max buy limit or lowering it per se. I can talk to the team about it, but I have a feeling we're probably going to be on the same page on this.
No, I understand your point. You're basically trying to have control just to keep things sustainable. What I'm saying about is that instead of limiting these bonuses sort of to everybody, you will just limit them to the individuals. Because as long as you have multiple persons making use of this, things would remain sustainable. The problem is when we have single individuals, like a very limited amount of persons making use of this with high volumes, and that is where it goes all crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does, but I think the reason it went so crazy is because we had the discount rate set really high. Like we had the discount rate set to 50%, pretty much. Like most of the time on version 1, the discounts were 50% or above. That's just way too high. I don't think we would have had nearly the vicious fall that we had if we hadn't had massive minting discounts. I think if we had kept the minting discounts to 10 to 20% the whole time, I don't think we would have gone down as far as we did, personally.
Right, right. All right. Thanks for that.
Thanks, man. DBJ, what you got, man?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Hello, MIDAS team. So I just wanted to ask, we're making all these marketing strides into DeFi 4.0 or DeFi X, etc., and claims on how we will use the Treasury funds, but there isn't really any announced strategy, and the Treasury balance is significantly low, like compared to the total volume walked and the market cap. So I'm just trying to say, when will some of these strategies be revealed to actually encourage people that are in it for the long term to hang out here? And I guess that's about it. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, we had kind of unveiled some of it when we did the time investment, and then in the previous AMA we had talked about that we were going to be doing some other investments too, and I think I'd even posted about some of them. The issue is that the time investment, we pulled out of time because time just fucking shit itself. I mean, time's going through a really rough period right now. So is Olympus DAO. In terms of the strategy for what we're going to be doing with it. The closer we get to actually putting the investments in, we'll be disclosing what the things are that we're investing in. And like I said yesterday, I think, I think even the official account had tweeted. I believe it tweeted that we had a couple investments lined up. So we have two things that we're going to be getting into here pretty shortly. Once one of them is really close. The other one's pretty close too. But once we're about to go into it, that'll be something that we announce that, hey, we're kind of like what you see with MCC on their Twitter or Refi on their Twitter. They announce whenever they put in a large position into something. We'd essentially be doing the same thing. I don't know if we tweet it out or if we do a Medium article, but yeah, we'd be announcing when we have put like a position into some type of project.
Cool. Yeah, I just I hope we can just move towards sort of semi-transparency. I know not entirely transparent, but just semi-transparency on how the Treasury volume will be used, because in my experience at this point, that is what defines the success of an OM fork or a DAO. So, but yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I'm really not worried about the transparency of the team. I mean, they've always kept me up to date on stuff too. And I mean, I guess I'm part of the team too, but it was even that way just when I was an advisor. I'm really not worried too much about the Treasury strategy because we have two pretty good projects picked out right now. And considering the team is anonymous and the amount of communication that we've had from people that don't usually like communicating. I mean, for me personally, I'm fine. I've never had any problem doing these type of things. But in terms of the other team members that are like dev based, communication for them is usually pretty difficult. So I think our communication honestly has been really good. What we would not want to be doing right now is announcing the projects that we're going to be putting our treasury into. So on this type of thing is where I usually would just ask for a little bit of patience from people because, okay, if we announce here's what we're going to be getting into, we're just going to get front run by people. And that wouldn't really make much sense. Like right now, we haven't disclosed what the two projects that we're investing in are because we're just going to invest in them. And then once we have it invested, we don't have any problem announcing it, just like we did with the time thing. It didn't work to do the other investments because they were kind of part of the time ecosystem, and it didn't make a lot of sense to do it. Which is why, I mean, we pulled out of the time investment, but obviously, we want to be able to make that back. Crypto goof. I'm sorry. I'm like going back and forth between here and then the general chat. Basically saying never show your hand. #smart. That's essentially kind of what it is. We're going to be showing it once we actually do the investment. It's just up until then, it doesn't make really much sense for us to disclose even what blockchain it's on, because we don't want people sniffing it out and then essentially front running us.
No, I respect that, and I totally understand. Like, don't ever show your hand. I just mean, like, as we move forward as a community towards potentially becoming more like a DAO, you know, I just think that having transparency surrounding, or like not transparency, either just information surrounding what the Treasury plans to do to maintain its investments and its returns, I think is healthy, because that's what separates these weak forks from the strong forks is Treasury management. But yeah, cool. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Lisa, I don't know how to say your name. I invited you up to speak. And then Russ the Bust, I invited you up to speak too. And Jolly Dangerous, I don't think you ever asked a question, man. Maybe I'm tripping, but if...
Hello?
Yeah, hey.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my bad. I was just kind of like waiting for everybody else to do their thing. How many questions can we ask real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Just go ahead. I mean, it's pretty informal, so it's just whatever you're comfortable with. Go ahead.
All right, so I was reading that article that was in the announcements. I forgot who posted it. I think it was either Jen or Golden Boy. It was that article about how to fix DAOs and rebase tokens and stuff like that. Some of the stuff I agree with, some of the stuff I didn't, but there was this part that came up, and it was talking about doing away with rebases. And in lieu of rebases, it would be like airdrops of stable coins. So what I got from it was the reason for that is with rebases, you have like 1,000 taxable events if you save for like a year. And the other part was, instead of rebasing the token itself, because that increases inflation, they would do airdrops into stable coins, because one, it would help give back in the form of, stable coins. So that way, you're technically still getting rewards, but it's not also inflating like the token itself. Is that something that you guys are going to be getting into? Because something, whoever posted that article was saying that this is kind of like what we're going to be doing with MIDAS.
Yeah, so that, and I can actually pull it up here because I reached out to the guy and DM'd him. It was bloodx.eth. And I'll post this again in the general chat, just so you guys know kind of what he's talking about. It's a great read, by the way, so I highly suggest, if you guys haven't, to check it out. I think right now, I mean, in the team we talked about it a little bit, and even back in version 1, CM Kid, before he had sold his positions, had wanted to talk to us about doing away with rebasing, because he thought rebasing was the main downfall of the time tokenomics, of the ohm tokenomics. And we had looked at even doing kind of like an auto caking method, similar to what like PancakeSwap does in their staking. Right now, at least with version 2, what we're going live with is what we have right now with the rebasing. Maybe that's something we do down the line too. But right now, we think that between the Treasury doing investments, profitable investments, and then buying the tokens back, and staying with stable APY and not too crazy of mint discounts, we think that should be fine for right now. Maybe that's something down the line we look to do. And that's also something like I said, I reached out to bloodx.eth to try and see if we can get a time to talk, and maybe get him on a call with the team to kind of talk about different methods. But right now, at least, just for version 2, we're going to be launching with the rebasing, because it would be a really it'd be a pretty big pivot right now to do away with rebasing at the moment. But I love the article. I thought it was great. I actually agreed with most of the points that he made in there. Right now, it's just not quite feasible for us to pivot that hard and do it. But I think that is something, especially if I can get on a call with BloodX along with some of the team members, that would be something I think that'd be really cool to flesh out, see how could maybe Crown change it up some.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Also, the last thing is like.